What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel. Check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to speak on this, this conversation that's going on about Chris Paul and Chris Paul leaving, or the way he left, or was separated and sent home from the Clippers, right? And as mainly I want to talk about the comments that was made, or the conversation that was had on running back, and Boogie Cousins said some things about Ty Lue, like he basically calling Ty Lue a snake. So first, before I get into playing the audio with the guy, I think the guy's name is Chandler and Boogie Cousins, they said that, like basically they feel like Chris Paul was mistreated. Like they shouldn't have sent Chris Paul home. But if you think about Chris Paul, like throughout his career, Chris Paul, like he's been somebody who's been difficult to deal with, with other players. So he kind of brought this on himself. If like, so he brought this on himself. He put himself in this position, and so whether Ty Lue is a snake or not really would not have come into play if Chris Paul had have conducted himself differently. And he's done this like throughout his career, wanted to call people out and talk down to people, other, especially other players. DeAndre, what's his name? DeAndre Jordan didn't get along with him. Blake Griffin, James Harden, um, what's the other guy name that's with the Lakers now? DeAndre Ayton didn't get, you know what I mean? So he's been known, and it's known around the league that, like he's somebody who's really a nuisance to deal with as a teammate. And they say it and they pass it off as leadership, right? But it's not leadership, is basically is bullying, because he's talking stuff and he's down talking to players, to grown men, other professional athletes. Leadership is about inspiring people, motivating people. Is not about bullying people. And a lot of times, the reason why people didn't probably put hands on him is because he is, like they would have had to get fined, or maybe even cut, or something would have happened to them. And so he used that leverage that he had as a superstar basketball player to bully other basketball players. That's why what's his name? DeAndre Jordan didn't want to. He almost left the Clippers, man, because he didn't want to play with this guy, And so in my opinion, I never saw Chris Paul as a leader. He just wasn't. And so, with that being said, man, I'm going to play the audio from the Running Back podcast and just point out like how, it's not always just about basketball. It's only about like, or how good you are. It's only about how good you are as long as you're good. Once your skills start to diminish, then people not going to put up with your flaws and your downfall. So that's basically my opinion on it. But I'm gonna play the audio and then come back and give my input.
And I think we also can agree that a decision like this is not made without Kawhi Leonard and James Harden being somewhat aware. Like, I'm not accusing anybody of lying, but those are the two best players.
But
those
you're
are the
not
franchises.
shocked.
They're making all the money. They knew or approved that this was going to happen. And like Lou said, a little transparency, a little conversation.
All right, so he's making a point that that James Harden and Kawhi Leonard knew about it. Again, that's Chris Paul's fault, because if you have respect for your teammates and you know how to treat people, then your teammates are going to stick up for you. But the fact that he didn't have a good relationship with James Harden, James Harden not going to stick up for him. Why would James Harden stick up for him? Because people say, well, that's not fair. The way Chris Paul treated people wasn't fair. So I think it's kind of naive to think that even if Chris Paul or even if James Harden knew about it, so what? They're gonna get rid of him. They're gonna he a nuisance anyway. I don't care. That's on him. He bought that on himself. Now, if he was somebody who was close with James Harden, he was close with everybody on the team, and the fan base loved him, then the team would have had to handle this situation differently. But he didn't do that. He spent all those years bullying people, talking down to other professional athletes, and now this is what happens. So again, let me get back into this, their statements.
Dialogue that you have with a guy like Chris Paul. And I don't care if it was supposed to happen and then the plane got delayed. Like, have the conversation on the plane, have the conversation on the bus, have some sort of respect where you at least get on the same page, and this Hall of Fame player doesn't feel blindsided where the only reason he's even in this situation is because he wanted to retire a Clipper and come home, be close to his family, and be with the franchise that he put on the map. So like
Number one, he didn't put the Clippers on the map. He was a really good player for the Clippers, but the Clippers was on the map way before Chris Paul came, right? Again, like Chris Paul is the one, like throughout the years, he was the one who dropped the ball and he put himself in this. You talking about have some respect. Have some respect for your fellow teammates. And if you're a 6 foot guard or 6'1" guard, Chris Paul only played one side of the ball, offense. Defense, he was a liability. He's not a rebounder. He didn't get no rebounds. He wasn't big on getting steals, so you gotta be, in order to be an asshole like he was, you gotta be like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. You gotta be able to play both sides of the ball. You gotta have that type of value. You gotta be able to play both sides of the ball. Kobe Bryant, they say, was a jerk and was an asshole, but Kobe played defense. He wasn't a liability on defense, and what he was when it came to scoring. Same thing with Mike. Like, Mike was an asshole and a jerk, but you know what you're gonna get from Mike because Mike played both sides of the ball. You a 6 foot guard, a 6'1" guard, talking to guys, and superstar basketball play or superstar athletes do that. Like, they know that you can't really do anything to them because you'll get kicked off the team. LeBron James, who was Dwight Howard said, he told LeBron James stop bitching, and he got ran out. He got ran off the team. Who else? Mario Chalmers. No, that was it. Mario Chalmers. Both of them said something that LeBron James ain't like, and one got put off the team, one got benched. And so they want to keep those star players happy, and so the star players use that as leverage. So let me get back to some more of the conversation because I want you to hear what Boogie Cousins said about Ty Lue.
Optics of it are bad. The business of it is bad. There's no excuse. And Lawrence Frank, he did go up there and he took the stand, and he said he has nothing to do with the lack of wins and the struggles that the Clippers have had. That's obvious. So at least he addressed that. I just wish that they would have come up with something. Let him step away from the team. Let him have family issues that he needs to. Let him do anything other than an Instagram story being like, I just got sent home with a peace emoji. It's just bad. It doesn't look good. And I just think a guy like Chris Paul, any player really, deserves just open transparency and dialogue.
All right. So now you talk about like what you deserve, right? And again, if you want to you got to put yourself in a situation where as though you get what you deserve. You can't rely on somebody else. And how could he have put himself in a position where he got what he deserved? He could have been mindful of how he treated his teammates. He could have been mindful of how he conducted himself, like throughout his career. That right there, would have given him more leverage because now you have your teammates and your peers on your side. But I hear more people coming out and speaking up against Chris Paul and the way he treated his teammates and his peers than I do hear people say, "Oh man, that's messed up." You know, even Ty Lue, like I don't think that Ty Lue is somebody who's unfair, right? And as an organization, you have to be aware of the pushback that you're going to get when you let somebody like a popular player go or franchise ball player go, especially under the circumstances that this guy said, "All right, this is my retirement tour." That's unheard of to send somebody home on it. Like that's like telling you, man, we don't give a fuck about your retirement. Basically, you're telling him, man, the hell with your retirement. Like that's crazy. But you can't blame Ty Lue. You can't blame even if you don't like the guy Lawrence Franks, right? He gave the leverage. They used Chris Paul's, they used Chris Paul to destroy Chris Paul, basically.
And to piggyback off of that, I just want to go on record saying that I'm really disappointed in T. Lue and how he's handled this situation. It's starting to become a pattern. I've experienced it. He's been on record talking about how me and him didn't talk for a while. I saw him do it to Rajon Rondo the same year that we were there. Now you're doing it to Chris Paul. It was rumblings that you did it to John Wall. So it's starting to become a pattern as to how he deals with his players, and it's a big gray area that it's not making sense. And to brand yourself, as a player's coach, you're not really showing those tendencies with these patterns that are continuing to happen. So that's my issue with T. Lue. Like a lot of guys got a lot of respect for you and a lot of love for you. You did it on both sides. So, love and respect for that. But we have to bring attention to how he's handling these relationships year after year with these different players. It's just not making sense, and I'm disappointed.
All right, so what I got, maybe Ty Lue is a guy who is not, he may not be the player's coach that you think he is, right? So I'm, what Boogie's saying is, but again, like you're going to deal, you like in the workplace, you're going to have to deal with people that are not really, who going to work against you. But the thing is, as a player or any type of professional, you can't give them ammunition to use against you. You got to be mindful. And a lot of times players will think that just because they play basketball really good, that they deserve this or they deserve that. It's another element to it. Like you got to be professional and strategic about how you move, because so if Ty Lue is a snake or he's somebody who will undercut players, you can't give him ammunition to use against you. Those kind of people, you got to put them in a position where as though they have to expose themselves in order to destroy you. If they had to almost like make something up or go out their way to destroy you. You can't just say, "Well, I'm a really good basketball player. I deserve this. I deserve that." You have to move strategically and put yourself in a position to win or a position to be successful, and it is sad that Chris Paul won't get to have the tour, retirement tour that he wanted to have. But Chris Paul have to accept some of the responsibility for that, It's not all about, you can't place that on Ty Lue or Lawrence Frank. They may well be snakes and but this is something that Chris Paul did to himself. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment, and I will check you all out in the next video. Peace.